The Sound of America, a brand new rock musical about the life of Benjamin Franklin, is now playing in Philadelphia. The show features more than 20 original songs and reimagines one of our most famous founding fathers as a struggling musician while telling his story of invention and revolution. Joining us now, the writer and lyricist of The Sound of America, our friend Randall Lane. He's also, of course, the chief content officer for Forbes. Randall, I will say, as I described the musical there, you got an appreciative chuckle off from Walter Isaacson.
Man, I'm a big fan of Dr. Franklin.
He will take the next question.
Roger Daltrey, by the way.
That's for sure. So Walter will jump in here in a second. But Randall, Benjamin Franklin has always been one of our most rock and roll founding fathers. So talk to us about the origins of this production.
Well, the idea is that, you have somebody who's the most American, Benjamin Franklin, and you have the most American art form, which is rock and roll. And Benjamin Franklin's story, and Walter knows this better than anybody in America, is a rock and roll story. He was a fugitive. He was a teenage fugitive, which we have just 3 loaves of bread and guitar on his back. He was, he had a rock and roll marriage. He was never legally married to his wife. He became world famous. He had fans. He had groupies. He toured the world. He had an illegitimate child, and he brought a lot of people together. So in many ways, he was America's first rock star. So we tell the story, and you guys have been talking today about how we bring people together for the 250th. Ben Franklin's story is very unifying. Rock and roll is very unifying, and I think we have some banger songs too.
Well, Randall, I love it. And one of the things about Franklin being America's first rock star is he knew it. He invented himself. He was always in the process of rolling the carts of paper down Market Street so that people would see he was industrious. And I think that's something you try to create in this wonderful musical, which, by the way, he deserves far more than Hamilton deserved a musical. You try to recreate that. Tell me about Franklin reinventing himself.
Franklin was, of course, like Madonna, the way every year she would have a new model of herself. Franklin kept on reinventing himself. This in the musical, we talk about Franklin. Actually, Poor Richard as kind of a songwriter, singer-songwriter in the mode of Carole King, where he was writing songs under a pseudonym, and eventually he became famous himself under his real name. But it was the idea of that he was a writer, he was an inventor, he was a diplomat. So of course there were many shades of Franklin, but they can all be told in every way that he succeeded. It was in a rock and roll way. He became larger than life. He had a huge ego. He had huge flaws, but he also, again, was a great American, epitomized the idea of what being America is, just like rock and roll. And he was a rebel. And rock and roll is rebellious. The American Revolution is rebellious. Ben Franklin was rebellious. It all worked. And we opened, last night was the world premiere. We had a packed house. And I think people saw the vision of Ben Franklin as America's first rock star.
Well, not only did he invent himself, he invented America and what it means to be an American. So I really hope that, I think you're running through August 1st in Philadelphia. You're going to take it on the road? Are we all going to get to see it?
That's the goal. We're platforming here in Philly because Ben Franklin will want to no other way. By the way, all the, as you alluded to, all the profits and all the royalties are going to Roger Daltrey's charity. The original rock, opera god, the Who's Roger Daltrey, Tommy himself. So we're supporting Teen Cancer America.
By the way, Roger Daltrey kind of looks
like
Franklin.
We have a little video cameo from Roger Daltrey in this show. So if you're a Who fan, we've got that too. But the idea, of course, is that Franklin was such a civic-minded person to start this in Philadelphia, to make sure we leave Philadelphia a better place than we found, that a lot of the money from Teen Cancer America goes to Children's Hospital Philadelphia CHOP. But yes, the idea is we platform in Philadelphia, and Next Stop America. We're excited about the reaction so far.
The Sound of America, playing now at the Fringe Arts Performance Center in Philadelphia. Writer and lyricist Randall Lane, our thanks to you. Although I can't believe here the 250th anniversary, Alexander Hamilton taking strays from Walter. But Walter,
Ben Franklin helped create that Declaration of Independence.
I understand.
With Adams and Jefferson.
So we'll celebrate all of them. But let's, in our last few, just give us your parting thoughts on what this anniversary means to you.
This anniversary means we have a chance to pull ourselves back together, not to be quite as poisonous and divided as a nation, because we basically know all of us share the same values, including when we look at the unemployment numbers, how to keep the American dream alive. And that's what the founders wanted, to create an American dream where it would be a land of opportunity.